Right, so this week's video, been doing quite a lot more than I expected, to be fair, on this bonnet section. Basically, because it needed a bit of a full rebuild, really. Not quite as easy as a job as I thought it was going to be. So basically, what I've had to do, because I've made all this engine cover and the scuttle panel's different now, sort of a higher sort of fitment. I've had to cut back some of the metal underneath the scuttle, drop it down a little bit, basically so that it matches up in the corners on the two sides there. Now it sits properly, which is good. Then I found out there was no clearance left on the holes here, so I've elongated that one a bit, just to make sure clearance is fine. I've still got to do the other half here, basically, but I'll do that afterwards, make sure it's all working and sorted first. The bonnet itself, I did have it flat underneath. I did some pictures, it was all nice and flat underneath here. Problem is, when the engine's running, obviously it's going to move a little bit, and it would have hit the top of the bonnet. So what I've done is, rather than just digging the filler side of things out and taking it back a bit, basically, I've dug it all out completely, taken out a load of fiberglass from the inside, from this middle whole section right the way back, because it was fouling anyway on the scuttle panel, on the back of that panel, so on the back of that piece even. So this is now ready for another fiberglass layer, like just a thin fiberglass layer, just to keep it nice and solid. On the plus side, it's now it's a lot lighter, basically, so it's very strong as well, which is a result. But yeah, that's going to look a lot better than that in the next couple of hours or so when I'm doing some fiberglassing. What I've also had to do, this bracket here, I've moved that. I've sort of dug out all the old brackets that I basically hold the bonnet on. So this here, that's sort of fresh bracket. Same two over there. This will be fiberglass, obviously, so it'll be nice and solid and look decent. And obviously it will have a little bit of a thin filler layer just to make sure everything's all nice under there. But it is going to be not flat, it's going to be a bit curved, but as long as it's the right shape and it looks good, then that'll do me. On top here, these brackets, these new ones, these were underneath before. So what I've done, because basically what's happened over the years, this bonnet, which was sort of made from a mould, like, I don't know, 15 years ago, whatever it was, before I started messing about with it. I don't know if you can see. Let's try and make you see. There we go. Ooh, fingers in the way. Right, so basically it dips down here. So it dips down and then goes up at the edges. So this piece here, the edge side of things here, was too high up. It kind of like curved up like that. Well, it still does at the minute. Curved up like that. So basically when it meets the wing here, it doesn't sit right. So it sits perfectly fine all the way around here, all the way around there, all the way around there, till it gets to the top ends, and then it doesn't fit right. So what I'm doing is I'm building up fiberglass. I've moved these brackets, which were underneath, to on top to give me an extra probably 3 or 4 mil clearance. You probably see underneath here, actually. All right, there we go. So it gives you a bit more clearance. Obviously there will be a little tiny bit of fiberglass underneath there, just to keep these in shape and not moving, that sort of thing. But that's all part of the fun. And then basically this will all be fiberglass in, filled to the right level, so it's going to have a nice thin layer of filler there, just to bring it up there. But I'm also going to fiberglass underneath here, so then I can basically sand that back, so it's going to be sort of nice and level there and almost coming down there, whereas on here, instead of coming down, it's now going to be straight. So it sort of brings it back. So yeah, it's like a reshaping. It's exactly the same on the other side. You can see where the dip is in there. You can see it worse on this side, to be fair. Hopefully you can. There you go. You can see the dip there. It's going to be a bit different from that. Just needs this sort of hole sorting out as well, which will be fiberglass from underneath. That's part of this job. And then hopefully after that, I'll start concentrating on finishing this off, because I've had to modify some of this to make this fit anyway before. So now this needs a little bit of work around these edges, or quite a bit of work around that edge actually, and obviously it needs flattening back and stuff, but there was no point in doing that until it's all on track. So I'll be making sure these are all kind of level, rather than sort of high here or low here, well, sorry, high here, low there, and then different shape around there. It's all going to be nice and hopefully relatively constant. Maybe not fully constant, because I can't get it exactly the same perhaps, but it'll be pretty close, won't be far off at all. So I'll do that as part of the fiberglassing on this job as well. So I'll crack on with that. I'll do part 2. You'll see where I've got with it on part 2. I've got some other stuff going on as well on the inside, which I don't think I've put on previous videos, with the tablet, the last tablet, and some work on the inside as well with other bits and bobs, like the access panels and stuff, so I'll put that on part 2 as well. But yeah, that's part 1 for now. Right, so I'm back this week. Didn't do a video last week, as most of you probably realised. I did put it on the Project Stormtrooper website, Facebook page even, why that was, just because I was having some nightmares with this this bonnet situation, which basically is the same, but I've come a lot further now, and I've done some other stuff inside, which I'll show you shortly. I hadn't realised how much I'd actually done since the last video, but I've done quite a lot, so I'll show you in a minute. But basically what's been giving me most of the grief this week is this bonnet area, so I'll explain why. Obviously when I fitted it originally, and obviously the linear actuators make it go up and down like that, when I fitted it originally, the sections here all fit, all these panel lines and everything fit. Obviously right now they're all in black guide coat basically, and the things are all the lines are all out and everything else, but I'll explain that in a minute as well. Yeah, so basically they all did sort of fit, but then basically when I went to refit it and put the put it over the top of the engine cover and the scuttle panel, nothing fit. The top end here, this was all lifting too much. It was like sitting about here. It's ridiculous. Same to the other side, near enough. If anything, it's probably worse to the other side. So what I've done, basically, I've had to run through what I've had to do. So I've had to build up the fiberglass for these corners. Well, I'll explain this better actually, because basically there was a massive dip. I probably should have took pictures before this really, but where this started here, there was a dip in here, so it basically went sort of curved upwards. I don't know how that's happened, whether it's just been over time or the original mould or whatever it was, I'm not entirely sure. Either way, it wasn't great. So what I've had to do is I've had to build up the fiberglass underneath this. So underneath this, obviously took it all off. Built it all up underneath. Built it all up on top here as well. So it's kind of like an S shape almost, because I've had to bend it back into shape. And then flat back this top corner on there, and flat back, bottom corner even underneath there. And then the top corner on here. So it's basically made it the right shape again. Now I'm just doing the filler levels. This is on its first level. So you can see it's still got a curve in it, still a bit of a bend, which it doesn't really want to have at all. It wants to be a nice flat line across there. Basically, that's the idea, across that bonnet section, which it really wasn't before. I didn't realise how bad it was, to be fair. And obviously now I've got to make sure all the levels and things along here are all fine and match up with the wings, and then both sides are symmetrical, which is giving me some grief because it's a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. Anybody who's worked with fiberglass and done this sort of stuff will know exactly what I'm talking about. Right, so basically what I'm doing next, this is now in its final position here. It's set in its position on the actual actuators, bolted in, everything else is actually nice and solid now. Nothing's moving there, it's nice and solid. So now I'm going to do all of this filler work along there, all the filler work along there. That one's the same. You can see how it's been built up now, so it's basically getting towards flat, but it's not quite fully there yet. Same again, this side, all these lines. Takes a bit of time, unfortunately, and then I've got to make sure all these sections here, all these lines match up, because I've had to sort of rejig all of these. I'll try and get a bit better view here in the sun. Here we go. So you can see how there's gaps and things. Obviously they shouldn't be there. That'll be nice sitting level. This is obviously dropped too low at the moment, so it needs to be built up. I've actually taken this section here down, because this is higher up than the other side. Basically it's built up slightly to match before, which it's wrong. Basically it shouldn't be how it's done. I did it wrong. So I'm basically taking this back here, and then that'll be a nice flat section. So yeah, that should be all good. So that's the front end. Now I'll do the interior, which is a bit of a mess around here currently, as per usual. Okay, done quite a lot of work in here. Didn't realise how much I'd done before from the last video, basically, but I'll run you through what I've done if you can't spot it already. So the general gist is this access panel is now finished, basically. It's all fitted in nicely. It's going to have some proper screws in there, so it looks nice. And obviously that'll all be covered in leather anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I've primed it as well, just so I can see what sort of angles I'm getting, what kind of corners I need adjusting. And it's not far off now, just needs a little bit at the top here, just to make sure it's a nice proper curve. In there, you can see where it basically comes down a slightly wrong angle, so that'll be nice and curved afterwards. This section, I've had to fiberglass some bits and bobs in here. You can see how rough fiberglass in this end. There you go, that's basically where I am. So there's a whole section here, because originally the plan was to put a 10-inch sub under the dash, which you can probably see the hole in there. But I'm not doing that anymore, so it doesn't really make any odds. So I'm basically getting rid of those. So I've got a piece to make for filling that sub hole. This section here is obviously already been fiberglassed already, because this was all sort of rough and horrendous. This piece has been fiberglassed and flattened a little bit. That's all good, hopefully. Yeah, that's all good. Just needs a few tidy ups, basically, nothing too major. Obviously I've dropped one of the speaker holes, so there's 3 speakers in here. Probably just about to see that one from bend a bit. 3 speakers in here, so there's 2 there, 1 there, which is fine. And this one's had a template inside, and I've done the first filler pass, and I've just started doing the flatting, but it's nowhere near finished, as you can see. That will be done this week, so that's one good thing. That'll be finished off, it won't take very long. So basically all this whole section then will be looking pretty smart, even when the trim panel isn't on it, which obviously when it is on it, as I showed you before, there you go, that's obviously when I'm at shows and stuff, so you won't see all that anyway behind there, but I'd rather have it looking nice and presentable, basically, and not sort of digging bits of filler into your feet and legs and whatever else. So I want to make sure it's done right, but obviously that trim panel does hide everything anyway, and it's going to look quite nice when it's all done. That's basically finished as it was before. I've got all the tablets in now, if you hadn't already spotted it. On the last video I didn't realise there was 2 of these missing. None of this was shaped or anything. This has now been shaped. Yeah, looking pretty spot on actually, to be honest. I'm happy with those. It's not even, that's literally still on 40 grit, not even fully shaped yet. I've still got some repair work to do here on this section, and just make sure all these lines are nice and curved the right sort of places, which is pretty close, to be honest. It's not much work to do at all there now. And then it's just getting the final coat and resin the outside of that, so it looks nice and smart and smooth and everything else, ready for leather again, as I say. So there you go. That's, oh no, actually, sorry, one more piece. I've done this section. This has all now been smoothed. That was a relatively easy job. So all this was, I can't remember what I did last time when I've on the last video, but I think I'd fiberglassed all this. I think I'd filled it, but I hadn't got anything sanded or anything like that. Basically, it's all rough and ready for working on. This is now sanded now, so it's down to, say, 40 grit again. It's due another pass of filler, the last pass, and then that'll basically be jobs are good. And so there you go. Yeah, pretty busy, to be honest. So I'll do another video this week, definitely. I won't miss another one. But I'll yeah, feel free to subscribe and comment if you can, and yeah, we'll crack on with it and get things moving quick as possible.